All right. Well, it's 5 after right now. We can go ahead and get started. We're still waiting for Ethan here, but he'll jump in a bit. We've got an amazing panel of people with us here today. It really reflects our community growing and a lot of exciting things coming up for this community as well. I think we're going to try to focus this discussion really on NFTs going mainstream and how we fit into that to get a variety of perspectives on growing the space together. I think one thing to note, we're not going to be announcing any major partnerships or things like that in this session. This is really focused on building alliances and growing this space together. So for any announcements in the future, we'll just keep an eye out, but this session is really focused on just chatting NFTs and really growing the space together. We will be recording this just to share later. So if you're listening, great to have you listening later as well. If you're here now, great to have you here. You can drop any questions into the Discord channel in the weekly AMA channel. Alrighty, so we have a fantastic panel here today. It really, I think, reflects us all growing this space together. Before diving in, I want to, in introducing our guests or having them introduce themselves, I just want to quickly mention a few intro things about Axolittles, because we're really building this community here together. First things, if you're new to the project, we're the leading animated profile picture project. We have over 4.3 thousand holders, an incredible community that's active, growing every day. We have two major milestones coming up.
You're cutting off a bit, Zyder.
Sounds like I'm lagging a bit over here. All right, 1 second. All right, I should be back. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's better. So could you repeat maybe the last minute? It was really cutting off a lot.
Right.
Thank you.
All right. Apologies, everyone. All right, we're back. Just feel free to interrupt or let me know. What I want to do is quickly give a quick intro about Axolittles for people who are just joining. If you're new to this project, if you're coming through one of our guests, we're the leading animated profile picture project. We have over 4.3 thousand holders, an incredible community that's growing every day. So we're a lot of really exciting things happening here. We have two major milestones I just want to mention before diving into the conversation. One is that we're launching staking on Thanksgiving. We'll have an announcement around the mechanics around that soon in the coming weeks. We also are launching the Ax Aquarium Metaverse World, and we'll have version 1 of that also within weeks. And that's going to be a place where we're really bringing lots of different projects together in a metaverse space where you can see your Axolittles, but you can also see your partner projects. So we'll definitely can get into that in some of the AMA, but I want to introduce our guests here as well. So today we have Nate Roth, we have Adam Hollander, Minnie, myself, and we're waiting for Ethan to join also from Twitter. Let's kick it off with Nate. You want to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about how you're involved with the NFT space?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I've spent the last 15 years of my life building brands. Some include Hinge, Get, some Canadian telecoms. And I got into NFTs first through Bitcoin, then through Ethereum, and then realized that it was sort of this beautiful combination of everything that I'm into: technology, branding, marketing, product development, technology, etc., and investing. And I thought that, I think for the first time in my life, I thought, wow, those things, you can do all those things in one space with one group of people. So I thought that was really, really cool. And then just dove into Twitter, especially over the last 8 weeks. And it's been a lot. And what I quickly realized is that there's a lot of noise and not that much signal. And unless you have all day to be on Twitter, it's very easy to miss some things. So I started a media company about 6 weeks ago with 3 others called The Drop. And we send out newsletters. We're building a podcast. etc., which is really exciting. And that's me.
Very cool. Well, welcome. Glad to have you here and be chatting today. Adam, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks. Well, nice to speak with all of you. Name's Adam Hollander. I suppose you could call me a serial entrepreneur, and so I've been founding and running companies for at least the latter part of my career. Most notably, I founded a gamification software company that I sold to Microsoft a couple of years ago, and I spent a few years at the mothership at Microsoft learning how to build and integrate and sell software at least for me, what were completely unprecedented levels of scale. Moved back to Austin a few years back, joined another organization that I grew from 4 to about 100 employees and recently helped them with a large fundraise. And so I've been, like Nate, spending a majority of my career really building brands and marketing products, mostly successfully. As far as NFTs go, I've been into crypto for quite a while. I bought Bitcoin relatively early. I bought a crypto kitty right when they came out 4+ years ago, and so I can technically call that my first NFT. I can't say that I really dove into NFTs in a meaningful way up until recently, when everything kind of clicked for me. And I think very much the way that Nate described it, when I realized that NFTs were just this beautiful combination of collecting and investing and gambling and community building and marketing. And once I really latched on to the concept that it's digital art and they're digital assets, but really they represent membership into communities that can provide residual value. It all started clicking for me with everything going on with sort of the metaverse and the idea that people are going to care just as much about their digital personas and their digital assets as much as they do their physical ones. And so as far as, my involvement in the space, I've invested quite a bit. And so I'm pretty deep into a number of major and minor projects. I've been working for the last several months with a development team and a number of 3D artists and animators on a project that I'll actually be launching myself next week. I've had a few ideas in the space and actually recently applied for an NFT-related patent. And so I've decided to dive in headfirst as far as the overarching space goes, and I'm extremely passionate and bullish about where it's going.
That's awesome. Great to have you here. And as you can hear, it's amazing to have people of such different backgrounds, and NFTs are kind of this great leveling ground as far as being able to get into different communities and build together. I think it's really a nice reset, and it opens up so many possibilities for people who have come from traditional tech or building huge companies who are now trading JPEGs, and it's a pretty fascinating thing to see. It's definitely really exciting. We've also got Minnie here from the Axolittles team. Do you want to give, for people that aren't familiar with you, Minnie, do you want to give a quick intro as well?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Minnie. I'm one of the co-founders of Axolittles, and I'm the artist and the animator. So I did all the art and everything. And so, yeah, I don't have a cool background like our guests here. I'm just an artist, and I got into NFTs also with this project. And so far, I really loved what we managed to accomplish. And yeah, thank you everyone for supporting our project. It's a really wonderful community, and I'm always thankful for everyone speaking in the Discord. And yeah, thank you guys.
Perfect. Thanks, Minnie. And yeah, it's been amazing joining this project too. I'm working here on the marketing side, and this community is building something really, really special and amazing together. We are still waiting for Ethan, but we're going to keep going here and see if he jumps in. And I definitely want to focus this on what we're building here together. I think we're all going to make it together is more relevant than ever. We're really opening up new spaces. So I'm curious just to hear from Nate and from Adam also. We've seen lots of ups and downs in a very brief period of time in the NFT space. We had all the craziness of NFT New York. We have projects going up and down in prices, but people building, quicker than ever before. could you talk a bit about just where you think we're in the space right now? What's kind of your assessment coming from your backgrounds of like where are we right now in the NFT space? Nate, why don't you kick it off there?
Sure, it's a great question. I think that we're still on day one. I know that it feels like there's not enough time in the day, and that we've lived a million lifetimes in the last 2 months. But I genuinely believe that we're still in the building phase. If you look at sort of the cycle of adoption, we're in the innovators. We're still in the first 1% of people that will one day own an NFT. And in fact, I think by some of my calculations, it's like 0.001. There's not even 1 million people using OpenSea. We've got 7 billion folks and over 3 billion with internet connections. So I think that I see a world in which everybody in the world owns plenty of NFTs, and they'll represent everything. They won't just be avatars and JPEGs. They could be titles to cars, a ticket to a show, anything really. And I just think we'll get to the point where people will be using them every day and not realize that they're using them. And I think that's when you get mainstream adoption. Nobody talks about HTTPS and the underlying infrastructure of the internet. They just use it. They just book a hotel or reach out to a friend, and once NFTs get to that level, which I think is still years away, even with Instagram and a few others joining in shortly, I think we're just truly on day one, and I think that's the most exciting part, is to realize that just how early we are. And I know that's a cliche, but it really is the truth.
Yeah, it definitely makes. I mean, we're here before. Everyone here is here before Coinbase NFT, before Twitter verification. That's step one to even getting this, to growing this. So definitely, I think it's exciting to hear that perspective too, just from the larger tech cycles. Adam, do you want to chime in here as well, just from your perspective?
Yeah, sure.
Of jumping in here.
So, first of all, I can echo everything Nate just said. I think that we tend to think of NFTs right now as collectibles and these, generative projects. And it, of course, makes just nothing but sense for them to extend into, medical records and, car titles and everything else that Nate mentioned. If you look at, the 400,000 monthly active users on OpenSea, as you guys have mentioned, and the 68 million that are even on Coinbase that already have crypto wallets available to make these purchases easily, we're going to see a pretty major leap forward in even just the coming months. I think as far as these, generative projects go, and looking at NFTs as collectibles and art, we'll probably eventually look back on it as kind of a pre and post Coinbase era. And even that will still be very, very, very early in the grand scheme of things in terms of where this is all going. As far as we look at NFTs today, or at least the majority of us that are, listening right now, that are really, paying attention to these more as digital art and collectibles and PFPs and everything else, I think the stage that we're at least for that right now, is that you're seeing just a tremendous amount of projects that are competing against each other and are forcing innovation. And a huge number of those projects will inevitably go to zero, and a small percentage of those projects will rise above as the demand increases. And, we might get to a point in the future where, when people want to have their digital personality or their avatar represented by an NFT, that some of the projects that we look at today might be completely out of reach. It might be, financially out of reach for you to get a CryptoPunk or a Bored Ape or a Cool Cat, or by that point, it might be Subducks and Lazy Lions and Axolotls and everything else that we're working on. And so what it comes down to is that as the demand increases, and as you see millions and tens and hundreds of millions of people starting to enter the space to even play in the way that we are today, it's going to force new projects to innovate and to compete against others. And I think we're going to see a lot of implementation of gamification into these projects. We're going to see more community building built into these projects. And I think it's a really exciting time to just be paying attention.
Yeah, that's some great insight, and definitely from our perspective, like we see things shaking out, and projects that are really building things and delivering are really going to rise to the top. We'll get into what we think, where this is going in a little bit too, but we're just from our perspective, I couldn't agree more that we really, I think, are seeing a time where we have to build a lot of value for the communities. Ship things and create whole new ways of interacting out here in the metaverse. So it's a really exciting time, and our team is definitely super focused on that here. Also curious, just we got kind of the like investor and entrepreneur and marketing kind of side of that. From your perspective, Minnie, I don't know if you can chime in just on also sharing like a bigger perspective on just how this has changed and opened up access for you as an artist or as an animator. Do you have anything you want to kind of contribute on that side?
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your thoughts there.
So I think as an artist, it's a really beautiful thing what NFTs have opened. With Web 2, each time you post your art on a platform, it's the platform that's getting all the value. People come to Twitter to see your pictures and all of that, and you don't get paid each time someone sees it, but Twitter gets paid each time someone comes on their platform. So it's a really beautiful thing that you can finally get value for your digital goods. And so I think it really opened up a lot of eyes on NFTs for artists because you finally get a revenue, and also sorry, I get a little bit lost sometimes in my thoughts. I'd say that I forgot my point.
Basically, as any good artist should,
Yeah, you finally get some revenue, and it clicked for me because I'm probably a little bit younger than you. Most of all, I'm in my early 20s, and when I found out about NFTs, it directly clicked because I think in my generation of younger people who grew up with games, who grew up with CS:GO, digital ownership, it always existed because you could have skins in games. So CS:GO, for example, it really became an economy in itself. And I think most of young people, they learn about economy even before discovering, even before getting their first paycheck. I used to trade skins on CS:GO and everything. And for me, it was basically the obvious next step in digital goods. So I'm pretty happy about that. And I think it's just the beginning because as NFTs grow, there'll be a lot of young people coming in and it will click for them. So that's why I'm really happy for the future. I think we've got a gem here, and of course we're early. We're the pioneers of this space. So
awesome. Thank you, Minnie. Cool. I guess just kind of following up on how early we are, and I'm curious to hear from both from Nate and from Adam, what having launched a bunch of companies, what are your perspectives? Are there parallels we can draw from that we can apply to NFTs for growing projects? How do we, in your perspective, reach kind of the next phase of this, where we can really bring lots, masses and masses of people in and make this accessible to people?
Yeah, I could jump in there. Well, I'll start with the second part of the question first. I think that the biggest opportunity in the space as a whole is to make the experience familiar and easy to use. And I think that we're really, really far away from that. I think if you take a comparison to buying anything else, you can go on Amazon and you can one-click buy pretty much everything. And the site loads in a second. All the information is on a single page. You never have to move. And it's just incredibly convenient. And you compare that to NFTs, and like one, you have to understand what Ethereum is. You have to buy it. You have to KYC. You have to trust a Chrome plugin. You have to trust sending money to that plugin. There's a whole lot of like leaps in trust, in education, in commitment of time that have to happen for anybody to get into NFTs. And I know that people always say education is the secret. Personally, I think that that's a cop out. That could maybe 2x us, 3x us. We need to 1000x to go mainstream, and that only comes through really clean, easy to use UIs that feel like e-commerce to people, feel like buying anything else. And so I think I have a lot of hope for Coinbase in being able to do that. I think everybody jokes about Meta, but I do think that likely the way that this goes mainstream is that Instagram just has a unit that any creator can add to their page, and they can sell directly to the audience that they already have. So, for example, I'll use the most obvious example. Kim Kardashian can go and sell a $10 NFT to 100 million people and make $1 billion overnight, and that's probably that's a very, very sort of interesting first way in to bring the everyday consumer in, because I think we just have to sometimes take a step back and realize that everybody on this call is truly on the bleeding edge of innovation, but everyday consumers expect a whole lot more simplicity. So I think that's I think some people welcome that, some people don't, but I think that it's a very, very interesting thing that's going to go down in the next quarter or two.
Yeah, that's awesome. And please tell me you have a solution for gas prices too, and communicating that well.
I actually think that's all going to get solved in the next 6 months. So I'm not that worried about that. And if I can hog the floor just a tiny bit longer to answer the first half of the question.
Yeah, for sure.
I do see, because I come from startups and building companies often from scratch or turning them around. I have a lot of experience working with venture capitalists, and to me, I see the parallels between the NFT space and angel investing, because often when projects launch, they've got sort of a vision, they've got a small team, and then they go out and they basically fundraise, and it's not too dissimilar to what startup investors do and with angel investors, and I actually think that it's a really beautiful thing because one, in the States, you have to make over $200K to be an accredited investor and be able to invest to angel invest. And I think the beautiful thing about NFTs is everybody has access to it, and that sort of really opens a whole lot of doors, and not only access financially, but access just in the community and in interacting and speaking with the artist. And when you're building a company from scratch, it all comes down to the quality of the team and their vision at the very start, and then you sort of make a bet on them, and then you hope that they build an amazing product, and that's not too dissimilar from roadmaps and executing against those. And really, really good creators, just like really good startup founders, they obsess over consumers, and those that obsess over their communities and listen to them and interact with them and grow together, I think are the ones that succeed. So I could go on forever on that topic, but I'll end it there.
Okay, perfect. And I know you've got limited time here. I would love to get one more question for you too, though. But Adam, if you want to jump in.
Yeah, well,
too,
I'll just build on it briefly. I was going to take a similar perspective from a different vantage point, which is, I've gone out as a company founder and fundraised on many occasions. And, for those that aren't familiar, even raising just a couple $1 million for a company that you're founding, you traditionally need to, build a proven product. You need to demonstrate meaningful traction. You have to build a team. In most cases that I've ever done that, at least for a company I was starting, I went a year or longer without paying myself. And so there are all of these circumstances that are gated for even a founder of a company to reach the point where they can go out and raise a few $1 million to increase their traction and to put some fuel on the fire. And by the way, even at that point, then you're giving up, in most cases, a pretty meaningful portion of your company, your cap table, to your investors, and in some cases, even decision-making authority to those said investors. What's really amazing to me about especially these generative NFT projects is that they are relatively, at least compared to building a company, straightforward and inexpensive to launch. And if you sell a mint for, zero point 0.04 ETH, 0.05 ETH, well, what do you know? When you sell 10,000 of those, it's several $1 million. And it's the ability to essentially raise a Series A for a brand new company and do so without necessarily even giving up that portion of your cap table. Now, that's really kind of a beautiful thing, but at the same time, it's extremely dangerous because it enables these founders that in many cases, haven't doxed themselves and they're just an avatar that, is all of a sudden finding themselves with millions of dollars, and you have no idea what they're going to do with that. And you have no accountability of if or how they're going to reinvest it into the project to drive value for the community and for the holders. And so what I think is going to happen is that these very, very early projects, there hasn't been a huge amount of accountability because there hasn't been a huge amount of competition, and there's been far more demand than there has been supply. That is very, very quickly, if it hasn't already, shifted. And now all of a sudden you see new projects every single day, every single hour. And there's a limited amount of people that are choosing which ones they're going to buy into. And that means that you are starting to look at who are the founders of this project and do they have a track record and a history? What is the roadmap for the project? How much of the money that's coming in is actually going to be reinvested into a team or into other ways of driving value for the holders of that project? And I'm hopeful that we're going to reach a point, relatively quickly, even in a few months, where the bar has simply been raised. And you're not going to be able to just create 10,000 terrible looking NFTs, throw them on a website, and generate millions of dollars. You're going to actually have to start treating it much more like a company than you are a NFT project.
Yeah, that's definitely good insight, and the space is definitely changing a lot as far as people bringing on more team members and really building out these projects and really building super high quality teams. I think that's going to be incredibly important going forward. I guess my question, follow-up question for both of you, I know, Nate, you have to drop in a minute here, is just can you talk a bit more about what you look for in a team? Because we do a lot here behind the scenes, like building out key pieces of the infrastructure, the marketing, the staking, an entire world that we're metaverse world that we're building and delivering shortly here. So much is going on that we're trying to communicate and get the community involved. So I guess I'm curious, like what you look for in a project, how you tell if a project is high quality, and what gets you to personally excited about a project.
Yeah. I mean, I think I have a little bit of an unpopular opinion on this one, and that I truly think that team is number one, and I I rank it actually above community, art, and utility. But hear me out. The team is the one that builds the utility, right? So the cart, you can't put the cart before the horse, and the better the team, the better the utility is going to be. I can say the same thing about the art, and then it's also the community. Really, really good people that know how to manage a community, that know how to provide value, that know how to communicate. They tend to attract the right community, and those that are shilling or short-sighted or doing short-term activities, they tend to attract the wrong community. And so I just think that everything sort of stems from the team, and it's enormously important. a bit of it's probably the trickiest of all four to assess. I think many are anonymous. So if they're doxed, it helps. It helps for two reasons. One, you can sort of check out their credentials, like their past work, their past art, how dedicated they've been. Have they been doing this art for a long time, or do they change styles every 6 months? Do they have their past projects been successful? Looking them up on Twitter, how well do they communicate? What do they seem to talk about? What's their reputation like? I think there's a lot that you can glean, but it's very qualitative and nuanced, and you sort of just have to kind of more or less get a vibe for it. But I think team is probably the most important thing. And when you don't know the team, you sort of it's a bit of a faith and trust based exercise, and then what they do for you becomes their reputation, and they build from scratch, and that's another way in. And I invest in those projects as well, but it's always it's super helpful to if there's an existing track record.
You mentioned that that's an unpopular opinion. I would be surprised if that were the case. As
insight, I know that.
Sorry.
Go for it, Andrew.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, as an angel investor, the number one thing I've always looked for in any company that I would invest in is the team, and far above the product, far above even the market opportunity. I mean, what it comes down to is that those are the people that are waking up every day, making decisions and rolling with the punches and figuring out how to solve problems, and over time figuring out how they're going to hopefully make the thing successful. And so track record is a big part of that. It's also just simply about the skill sets of that particular team. And so, nothing against amazing artists. I mean, you need amazing artists to make these generative projects successful. But if you're an amazing artist, it doesn't necessarily mean that you know how to run a company. It doesn't mean that you have sales skills or marketing skills or service skills, or that you can communicate well, or that you can build a roadmap or manage a technical team. And so for me, what I think we need to be looking for is not just, is the team dedicated and are they passionate about the project? Are they capable of managing all the facets of what is inevitably going to make a project successful in an increasingly competitive market, where we're going to be expecting a lot more in terms of the roadmaps and the way that the NFTs present value?
Yeah, those are really, really, I think, valuable perspectives. We do have Ethan from Twitter joining us right now, but I do want to just comment on that I think that what's really interesting also about hearing your perspectives is that we're seeing, I think, this merging of like this traditional world and this art world, and there's this whole new space that's opened up where we're trying to figure out, like, are we doxed, or are we anonymous, or do we show value through what we deliver or through reputation? And there's all of these different aspects that are coming together to really build these projects. I totally agree. It comes down to the team and having an amazing team that can execute on things, and that you can, if the market changes or if things, take a turn, that you can really adapt and grow and build something super valuable that really leads the next phase for the project. So really interesting insights there. I think we could talk a lot more about that. I want to introduce Ethan real quick. He's working on the profile picture verification side of things for Twitter. Ethan, do you want to jump on here and introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure, and sorry I'm late. So I work here at Twitter on creator monetization mostly, but also have been working real hard on the avatar verification, which we've teased and is coming soon. So just happy to listen and get any feedback, and very excited about this feature.
Great. Yeah, we've definitely been chatting here with Nate and Adam and Minnie as well. Would definitely love to hear. We've gone through a little bit about what we're building and what we're excited about the space. Would love to hear just your perspective also quickly on, we've probably all here seen the video of kind of the demo of what's to come. Is there anything else that you can share just around what you're building, what you're excited about for shipping for Twitter, and maybe we can start with that.
Yeah, so the demo is pretty close to what we'll ship, and it'll be more polished, and we have a few odds and ends, but that's pretty much what you see is what you're going to get. There's a lot of excitement around future potential features, but nothing on the roadmap I can share right now. Actually, I'm really curious, like, what everybody's take would be is like, what would the next logical step for Twitter be after the profile verification launches?
Perfect. Maybe we can get I don't know. It looks like Nate had to drop, but it'd be great to get Ethan and Minnie, your perspective as well. I think from the Axo community, I think our unanimous answer would be we're looking forward to animated or profile pictures, of course, in the near future. But maybe we can get Adam and Minnie, your perspective on this is real-time feedback right here on what we want to see built in the Twitter space.
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in on that. First of all, to echo the sentiment, I'm extremely excited about it. I think it's extremely forward-thinking of Twitter, though not surprising to be implementing this, and I hope that other platforms will follow. Look, today, when we think about our digital persona, it manifests itself in social media channels, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Moving forward, as we continue down this path towards an inevitable metaverse, then it will take the format of avatars and ways that we interact and learn and do all sorts of other things in a digital world. And so, being able to validate the value that is invested into these NFTs, at least as your persona, I think is a huge and very important step forward. Personally for me, I guess one question that I would have is, a huge number of folks that are using their NFTs as their PFP on Twitter like to use derivative versions of those NFTs for a variety of reasons. And so, you remember back at, the Sotheby's auction and everybody, putting suits on their ape, or, they're combining together their NFTs into other kinds of artistic works. And that's almost becoming a market in and of itself, with websites like Nifty Tailor and a variety of other artists that are creating derivatives. And so I am curious how Twitter is planning to address that. And, are you simply going to be looking that an NFT exists in a wallet? Are you going to be looking back at very specific verified collections like Bored Ape Yacht Club or Axolittles or whatever it may be? And I'm personally on the edge of my seat to see what that implementation is actually going to entail.
Yeah, so I think, in follow-up versions, support for like fractionalized ownership would be nice. Not quite sure how it would work, but definitely want to handle all the new cases. And, regarding animated profile, can't make any promises there. There are other product reasons why that might be hard. But yeah, definitely support for like shared ownership is something we want.
Cool. Minnie, do you want to jump in with any feedback or questions or what you'd like to see too?
Yeah, I think the fact that so on Axolittles we're working on 3D models for all the unique Axolittles, all 10,000 ones. So maybe it could be interesting to have some AR filters integrated with Twitter. On the topic of future additions to the platform, maybe something to do with 3D models being used as your avatar. That could be interesting.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of interest in supporting all different kinds of asset types. I don't know if necessarily all for the profile photo, but being able to support showcasing all of your assets, whether it's a static image, animation, or even other kinds of media.
Cool, great. Yeah, definitely great to get your insights there too. I think would love to, because we've been chatting for a little bit here, just talk a bit about just like this, what's next. and what we have to look forward to. We got into it a little bit with building great teams, but I'm curious also just from Adam and Ethan also, as someone building something that's going to reach a lot of people, just how you, what you see, how you see the next phase of this NFT space playing out, and what you're excited for in the future here.
Well, one aspect I'm really excited about is just, community features around, shared ownership in a collection, what that could look like, being able to have private spaces, and being able to basically leverage that as a new source of a social graph to help, build communities automatically.
Cool. Adam, what about from your side?
Unfortunately, I had a connection issue and lost you for the last 30 seconds or so. Would you mind repeating the question?
Oh yeah, I'm just diving into a bit also what we have to look forward to. What you see is kind of next for the NFT space. We got into the teams a little bit, but I think what do you kind of see as the next phase here that we're going into as far as what we have to look forward to?
Yeah, well, I think I'll really reiterate some of the themes that I've talked about on the call so far, which is that I think the increased demand and the increased number of folks that are jumping into the space to innovate is going to raise the bar. And that means that we're all going to be able to expect more out of the projects that we invest in, whether that manifests itself as expecting certain levels of founders or team that have certain reputation behind them, and those become the projects that actually get invested into, whether that be features of the project and the roadmap and ways of creating engagement and value using the NFTs really as more of a foundation instead of just the asset that is being purchased. I think that we're going to continue to see each month that goes by new projects that are pushing the boundaries of what makes collecting these fun, what creates genuinely engaged community, what drives up value, and hopefully move away from the space where people are buying these purely because of the speculative value. At the end of the day, if the only reason that you're buying an NFT is because you think or hope that it's going to be worth more tomorrow and then you might be able to sell it for more money, then that project is really nothing but a Ponzi scheme at its core, tenets. And so we need to move away from that to where people are associating value, not just with the scarcity of the asset, but with what that asset represents in terms of membership into a community or derivative value. And I think innovation and competition and increased demand with the Coinbase launch and everything else that we can hopefully expect for the space are just going to do good things, raising the bar for everybody.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for that insight. It was amazing talking with Coinbase last week just about what everything that's getting built there and how that's going to really open things up for so many people. And I'm curious also, Minnie, maybe you want to chime in too on what you're excited about. I know we have a crazy good roadmap here and we have a lot of things that we're shipping. So maybe you want to chime in on that too.
So I'm really excited about the aspect of the metaverse. So we're building our own metaverse, we could call it like that, with the Aquarium, because I think each profile picture, each avatar of an NFT collection represents like a person. And so now you've got all this population, but they've got nowhere to live. So that's why we took the aquarium image, basically, to build our custom world. And so I'm really excited about that because I think it's a next step for all NFTs. It's giving them a place to live, to show them. So that's always what I had in mind with this project. I wanted the NFT to feel alive. That's why I worked really hard on the animation. Most of the projects don't really bother. I could have released the project just with a static image, but I knew I had to put in the hundreds of extra hours of work to get it finally working. And so that's why I'm excited. I think we can build an actual world where every NFT can live And I'm really excited about the aspect that no one owns an NFT, so you could really implement any other NFT in your project without actually being constrained by the IP and all of that. You can't, of course, you can't steal the art or anything like that. But what I want to say is that we could. So our plan would be to add basically all the other famous collections inside of the Aquarium. It would be like mix between, I would say, Animal Crossing and Isotel. I don't know if you know about it, but basically have a hotel, something in that nature, where you have rooms where you can show off your NFTs, but you would also get a 3D world, your own little room, where you can actually see your NFTs in 3D walking around. I want to add punks, apes, all that in 3D. I don't see any other project doing that, so I'm excited. So Zaito, do you want to ask the other questions?
Oh, can you hear me?
We can now.
Yeah, I can hear.
All right. I think I dropped there for a second. Great. Thanks for that, Minnie, and definitely to chime in there. I think it's amazing to picture just like what this translation to these whole 3D virtual metaverse worlds is going to look like, and how the collaborations across those worlds are going to happen. It's also super exciting to see our own community already building just a NFT world and these side projects that are happening. I think it really shows the strength of a community to just be getting everything going and creating their own worlds in addition to these. So I'm really excited for what communities are going to build, and also for how what we're going to build is going to bring all the projects together. We want to see apes in the Axolotls for sure. And there's so many new possibilities that are opened up with this new ownership model. Cool. And I think with that, let me see if we have any AMA questions. If you have any questions, you can jump into our Discord too. I think there's a few questions about staking, but we'll definitely be having an announcement around that soon. So stay tuned for that, and we'll get you all the details of what will be happening on Thanksgiving Day. We'll be going live with staking. So we're really excited with that. One thing I can say is that we'll definitely be integrated with how our entire world and the Aquarium functions. So really excited to be sharing the details with that. Adam and Ethan, is there anything else that you want to add or ask each other too, just about developing this space? Again, I think it's really fascinating that to see this like tradition, this merging of tech and then NFT space kind of coming together too.
Nothing specific from me. I'm really thankful for the opportunity to chat with you all today, and my DMs are always open. And so if anybody that's on here listening has questions for me, feel more than free to reach out to me.
Yeah, and I'll just follow up the same. Just any and all feedback is welcome, and we are trying to build in public, so it's greatly appreciated, any feedback.
Awesome, great. We'll definitely keep the feedback coming. I know our community will have lots of different suggestions, and really looking forward to what's being built over there. Again, what's amazing about the space is just being able to bring people together. We are focused on building a fantastic team here, building great things in our roadmap, and also building great relationships across the NFT space. So these weekly updates and these discussions are really going to be focused on how we all grow this space together. We're all going to make it together, and we're going to have some fun while we do it. So thank you all for joining. Thank you, Adam, for your awesome perspectives. Nate as well, who had to drop for all of your insights, and Ethan for jumping on too. Really looking forward to what's being built over at Twitter. Minnie, as always, great to have you here and inspiring us all with your passion for your art and for everything that's happening here in the community.
Thanks,
Thank you, Zaito, for having me. Thank you, guys. Also, stay tuned. Next week we'll have our dev coming on, Otter. He should explain stuff about staking. So be ready for that.
Yep, absolutely. So we'll have an announcement around that. Thank you all for joining. I think we broke records here with our attendees, so it's really great to see everyone showing up. This is such an awesome community to be a part of. Please, you can drop your questions in the weekly AMA questions all week if you have questions, and we'll have Otter on next week, so we'll be able to get to all of the staking questions then. Thank you so much for joining, and with that, we will wrap it up here. Have a great day, everyone.